Welcome to the Expert Connect Wellness Chats. I'm Ansha Narayan, your host and founder of the Expert Connect. And joining me today is Brooke Ramsy, who's been running her own coaching business for the last 2 years here in Calgary. Brooke, welcome. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Anshu. Happy Diwali. Happy
Yes,
to see you. I'm doing fabulously. I'm really happy for us to have this time to speak about something that's really important and just to share space. So thank you for having me today.
Yes, I'm very excited that you are able to join me today, Brooke, in this special men's health segment that we're doing. And I've been so excited for the entire week that we'll have some like this. And both you and I know, and obviously we were talking before we started this recording, that our society obviously has evolved in a way where there's so many things we expect out of both genders, men and women both. But today we're going to be talking specifically about men, and society expects men to be resilient all the time. We expect them not to show a lot of emotions. And to a certain degree, they're frowned upon when they reach out to seek for help. What message do you have for all the men and boys who are in a similar situation like this, and how can we help them change their mentality?
Ooh. So of course, asking for help, regardless of our gender, in our Western culture, which is very individualistic, can feel shameful. Regardless, even like simple things like I think about how I cannot possibly take more than one trip from my car up to my apartment with my groceries, or it's all coming up in one trip, and I'll do it myself and I'll have it all up my arm, right? Like, we have this value, which is a powerful value, around strength and, power and self-sufficiency. And so, of course, regardless of our gender, there's already a cultural narrative around being tough and strong. For men who are conditioned even more strongly into that, even in the way that when a baby's born, we can see in the data that a boy will be held and handled differently, more roughly than a girl will be, even by their parents and by hospital staff. Like, this starts at a very young age. So we all know that already. So, okay, I think anyone watching this is like, I've heard about this thing about men versus. But what I've really been thinking about when I've been thinking about that question, and what I would say is, the first thing I'd say, of course, it's challenging to ask for help because of all that. And also, it's challenging to ask for help because of the way that help has historically been provided and continues to be provided. And what I mean by that is, help has, in many ways, and in many industries, so particularly like mental health, healthcare industry, so psychiatry, psychology, has been delivered from the place of, I as practitioner know something, you do not, I'm going to fix you. So if I'm the therapist and I'm working with you, Anshu, and I'm treating you like you're broken, which is what I think help has often been offered as, why the heck would you show up? Of course, you wouldn't want to go receive help like that, because it's quite disempowering. So the new potential is not just for men, for everyone. It's not just for men to like kind of claim this ability to ask for help. It's also the responsibility of people who are in helping professions to see and treat and love and respect and honor anyone showing up as whole. That creates such a better dynamic. It's a quicker dynamic to move through things. It's more human. Honestly, I would like kind of put my flag in the earth and say that. In my own life, when I have friends and coaches I work with, or therapists I work with, if they are treating me as if they know more than me, or that they know better than me, that energetically is like icky. I don't want to receive that kind of help. But when I'm walking, hand in hand, side by side, and we're both two whole people who also have cracked, a client of me recently was reclaiming his sense of brokenness. And he used this phrase, it was so beautiful. He's like, oh, I'm just a little cracked. Oh, beautiful. So when we're walking beside each other, knowing, gosh, we're amazing, incredible, resilient humans like we all are, and we're a little bit cracked. That's the kind of help that I think men, I think women, I think anyone is going to be more willing to show up and receive.
That is so beautiful, Brooke. And I think you raise a very important point of us being whole. And I think that that is so important. Sometimes we forget. I think sometimes the giver forgets, and sometimes the receiver forgets as well at the same time, that we are whole humans. And you're right, we might be correct and we show up in those ways, but at the end of the day, we are whole. So thank you for that. That was so beautiful. I also think that in many of our segments, we've spoken about yoga, meditation, and the benefits of these practices. But generally, I see that women show up to these practices in larger numbers than men. Why do you think men don't participate in practices like this?
Yeah, and I think changing, and I think very cultural. So here in Calgary, probably true. In more maybe socially liberal, not politically liberal, but socially liberal places, not as true. But, I don't think I have a really powerful answer to that, except that whatever somebody's doing that's embodied is powerful. So, I have clients here in Alberta, this is like common, who like go skidooing in the winter. It's like we're so like prairie mountain people here. Whatever you're doing that gets you in the body, brilliant, keep doing it, amazing. So someone I love, David Goggins. I don't know if you're familiar with David Goggins, but yeah, I love Goggins so much. And, Goggins, for the first half of his life, didn't stretch. And later on, he got into it. So he's, a great example here. But he just he was running, he was doing pull-ups, he was like three times in Hell Week, to become a Navy SEAL. And his body work shifted his trauma, right? We're talking about trauma here. All of us have it, capital T, little t trauma. And so if yoga doesn't feel good for you, this is what, again, I'll speak to the men. If that's not where you want to go, all good. Maybe that's 5 years from now, maybe that's 10 years, whatever your journey is, awesome. But be doing something that has you in your physicality. And for a lot of men, especially, if you're traumatized at a young age, you didn't get to fight back, right? You didn't get to say no to things. And so a very empowering practice can be, that's why lifting weights, that's why harsh competition, we're playing football or hockey and we're hitting each other. That's why it can be very empowering. And so what we want to do is take those practices that we as men maybe are doing anyway, we're like locker room kind of stuff. And we want to be intentional about using them as a way to process emotion. How much sense is that making? So it makes sense to me that more men, in the way that their culture, the way that they're socialized in our culture, would be more drawn to some of those more violent, aggressive type physical modalities. And that's okay. And how do we use those more violent physical modalities as healing practices? Because I think anything we do can be healing. It's about the intention that we bring to it, right? So, and yoga, and meditation, and you can still, I have this client who we're working on not being in such fighter energy all the time. He's in a really fighter industry, and he's always, and he realized as he was releasing a lot of this fighter energy so that he could just be in relationship and be where he was, as he was releasing it, he didn't want to drop it for his hockey pool. He still was just I just want to beat I don't want to just beat everyone. I want to kill everyone in this hockey pool. I want to win by 1,000 points. I don't know how hockey pools work. But he was oh, is that okay? And I'm of course it is. Because part of being whole, to bring back to what we're talking about, is honoring the part of you that wants to just pulverize someone. And it's also, for men, the growth opportunity collectively for men right now is also recognizing, oh, you just want to hold a baby. You want to be held also. That's part of the wholeness, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, that is beautiful. I think that COVID and not me thinking, truly COVID has done a good number on everybody's mental health,
Yes.
from fear of unemployment to being stuck at home and lack of social interactions to fear of catching the virus. I think all of this truly has done a number on our mental health. What advice would you have, Brooke, for men who are experiencing mental health issues as a result of this pandemic?
Yeah, beautiful. So before what we might traditionally call like a mental health issue. So like if we're in, I'm not speaking this to someone who's really depressed or is suicidal.
Mhm,
If that's the
mhm,
case, right now ask out for help. So
mhm,
my message would be to that extent, an extreme,
mhm.
call a number, now and reach out to people and be in community. Like that's huge.
Yeah.
Before that, while we're in this fear state, and maybe if we're not people that are still like maybe going to work, still feeling like they can function at home, speaking to that person right now, honor the feeling. So this is the core thing we're all learning all the time. Be willing to admit the fear. Something I see a lot is like, oh, like I'm fine. I'm fine. Oh, I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. And while that is a part of the wholeness, we also have to honor the part that's like, oh, I'm grieving that my kids' soccer, all the sports just got canceled, right? All these kids.
Mm.
And dad, mom probably has a little bit more freedom to say, this sucks. I'm so sad for my children, my poor kids. I don't want this. Dad's got to be allowed to do that too. Oh, it breaks my heart. I don't get to sit and play hockey. I don't get to, my poor child. So I would say, a core part here is honoring whatever emotions are coming up. And when I say honoring, it doesn't even have to be admitting it to someone else yet. The first step is admitting to ourselves, I am sad that I don't get to see my colleagues right now. I don't like being on Zoom all the time, right? I think for men, there's this, and we talked about it earlier at the beginning, like be resilient, be tough, like everything's good, and that is so beautiful. And I think that's like an amazing gift that the masculine energy is in the world. And oh, I'm resilient, and gosh, it sucks that I don't get to go see my Flames play. And gosh, it's like honoring that. Being honest with ourselves is huge. There's this powerful psychiatrist, Brad Blanton, who wrote this amazing book and has a whole theory around this thing called radical honesty. And he says that you've spoken the truth when as soon as you say it, everything changes. And so to those people that are bottling up some of that fear, or a lot of that fear and grief that's coming because COVID has changed things for us, and it was an unexpected change, I would say you'll know you're making shifts if you're saying things that once you say them, oh, I'm sad about this. This is hard. Space opens up, body opens up. I can do something different now. If you catch yourself in loops where you're repeating the same patterns day, over and over, chances are there's something you're not being honest with yourself about.
Wow. Brooke, that fantastic. I was just like, oh my God, I was so in tune. I was just listening to you because I think as I was typing out these questions for us for this episode today, honestly, for that question, I thought you were going to wave your magic wand and you were going to solve problems that men and women both have, probably with a different answer. But I think what you just said was priceless. So thank you for that. It truly has moved me. And so thank you. I truly appreciate that so much, that honesty and just being aware of your emotions is so important. So thank you for sharing that once again. Brooke, how can men draw on some of their natural strengths during this time?
Yes. So we are whole. We've said this. This is like the repeated theme. And part of being whole, and one way we can conceptualize it, and there's so many ways, is that we have masculine and feminine energy. And so I want to really speak power into the masculine energy right now. And so when I am saying masculine energy, I'm thinking about that like go forth energy, linear, fact, take charge energy, which we all have, but let's speak to it. It's men embody this energy very, very much more easily in our culture and more acceptedly. I don't know if that's a word, but so use it, honor it. So there has been so many cultural changes, thousands of years, hundreds of years before you and I, Anshu. This is, we're cycling through. Society is changing. And in the last couple of 100 years, there's been big conversations about women's role and women's equality with men. And that's so beautiful. And in that process, there's been, I think, some shame by women and by men to men about masculinity. And that's okay. And this is all part of the journey, and it's beautiful. And now there's this beautiful opportunity, I think we're at, to reclaim without shame strong, beautiful things about masculinity. So when I think about, and there's a phrase, mature masculinity. When I think about mature masculinity, I think about people who are able to get out of bed in the morning and do what needs to be done no matter what's happening. And I think about people who are willing to say the thing that needs to be said. I think about protector energy. I think about warrior energy. I think about kingly energy that is it's like a beacon for us, like a lighthouse for us, for anyone else, men, women, whatever. And so this masculine energy is a part of all of us, and especially is ready to come out of men. And when I think about how men could tap into it, oh my gosh, we get back to the meditative practice. We get back to the yoga. We get back to intention. So instead of choosing, so men are conditioned that they have to be that way. And so what I would encourage men to do is, instead of taking on that role because out of resentment, oh, I have to be the strong one in my family. I have to be, I must protect. How can we shift that into, I'm choosing to? This is my desire. I want to. So we want to give men, and men need to take their uniqueness as a privilege and a desire as what they want to give out to the world. How much sense is that making? Because it was a little bit like la 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 la. But what are you hearing as I say that, Anshu?
It's that you have to choose, and I think it comes to choice, being able to choose what is coming out for you. And I think there's so many amazing qualities that men have, like we talked about. And I think it's drawing onto it. It's choosing what
qualities. And as you said that's so beautiful. You helped me kind of like concrete this a little bit more. Qualities, and also simply role that they're already in. So the reality is that most companies, most positions of power are still held by men. And so instead of us being angry about that, let us allow men to evolve into the way that they want to lead. Because the truth is that I don't think men are totally happy with the system either. Collective men that I'm working with want to have deep connection with other people. They want to have their empathy come out. They want to have these deep relationships, which we traditionally associate with women, like soft skills, emotional intelligence. So let us allow and honor that these people in power also have that deep desire, that whole human desire. I heard Gloria Steinem speak, which was super powerful and amazing, 4 or 5 years ago at the U of C. And she said, when a baby's born, or taking care of a baby, we think, oh, what beautiful feminine skills you bring, like being like nurturing to a child and raising a child. And we associate it with like a woman. And she said, no, that's just a really cool human thing to do. That's just like an amazing human skill. And I thought that was so true. So the idea that like we all have all of it, let's give ourselves permission to choose what we're accessing at various times. And so let's make it more culturally acceptable for men to get emotional in the boardroom, for men to like express passion, which is not just anger. Passion can be joy. That's something I'd like to touch on, Anshu, is that when we block our sadness and our grief, we're also so blocking our joy. Like sometimes I'm like with men and I'm like, why are we not dancing? There's kind of also this box that holds men in around being stoic. I find this especially in Calgary. We're kind of like, we have our nice suit on, and look at me, like I'm very like blue and black, like, oh, you know, but like throw it out the window sometimes, you know. That's an aside, but something that I do care about is this is also about having fun and joy of being alive and joy of being here and being in a position where you can impact other people, which many men are in leadership roles.
100% in leadership roles in the communities. I think that is all so much important. But thank you so much for that, Brooke. I think that was truly amazing what you were able to share with us, and I think the perspectives that you shared with us today was so different. It's not like, this is the norm and this is what we're going to do. It was sort of fresh and new, and I greatly appreciate that. Now, when we started this episode, I did share that you have been running your coaching practice here in Calgary for 2 years. So what are some programs is it BrookeRamsy.com?
Yeah, BrookeRamsy.com.
Awesome. So what programs do you have, Brooke?
So Anshu, before I say that too, what I want to say is the reason why I have this different perspective is because I've been doing deep work with men one-on-one and in groups. And it's them. So I just want to like shout out the men who've been like so uber brave and incredible to like let me into their lives and like let me see this reality, that like this big heart of men. And so I'm saying these perspectives from having, my work is daily in deep conversation and deep relationship with men. Yes. So in terms of the way I work and like the program side, I love doing group facilitation in person though. And so that's been like, I want to, and I've started to do a little bit of that now, but my work is long-term engagements. So I get in deep relationship with men. I work with fewer men at a time, and we get really close, you know, really intimate. We practice intimacy without romance, without sexuality, just intimacy. What is it like to be in relationship? And so that's fundamentally how I believe care and help, as we were talking about earlier, that's how I want to deliver it. When I'm working with men, I'm partnering with them. You know, even the word coach, I kind of pull from, I'm not like in love with, but I understand, like, you know, to the world, it makes sense that I have to use it right now. But gosh, I'm just here discovering myself and living and expanding as a human being. And I believe that anyone that I partner with is doing the same. And so when it comes to the work I do want to start sharing more of my ideas and doing some video and writing, because I tend to kind of keep it, it's pretty private now, like with the client, the men that I'm partnering with. That's what I would say to what I do.
Awesome. That is beautiful. And how will people be able to find you on social media?
Oh, yes, I'm only on LinkedIn. That was a big thing in the last couple of months. I got off Facebook and got off Instagram, and that's so fabulous. And so on LinkedIn, I'm Brooke Ramsy. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with people there. And BrookeRamsy.com, there's like a contact, as well as my calendar to just book in a 15-minute chat to get connected and feel each other's energy. So that's how. And thank you so much for asking and giving me some space to share.
Awesome. Thank you, Brooke. Thank you so much once again for joining me on this beautiful men's health episode. Thank you, everybody, for watching us, and stay tuned for more episodes. Have a wonderful day.